Hello, good evening. Nice to see you all. Today's talk is called, just let me pull it up again. Why is it so rare for the illusion to completely collapse? So what holds it back? Why is it so rare for the illusion to completely collapse? Um, so just to explain what I'm doing is that, yeah, the way in which I talk is that I just let the words to come out spontaneously. I don't plan these talks. Um, so just sit here and, I mean, what you could say is meditate or resting in self, and then I just let the words come out. Yeah, YouTube is just telling me this is a good time to insert ads. Just came up with a message. Isn't that so funny? Like, you're doing a non-duality talk or satsang, and then YouTube's like, yeah, just insert ads. Yeah, I always find that amusing. They yeah, they're always trying to push you into putting in ads everywhere. Yeah, and it's difficult because you have to stay in with YouTube. Like, you can't annoy them, so you can't like totally not put ads on because they want you to put ads on. But at the same time, yeah, I just don't like that. So there's some like washing powder now that's most probably got loads of poisons comes up and then it's sold. Or some dream holiday that's going to fix all your problems. I don't know what gets advertised with me. Something like Gaia House, maybe. Not Gaia House, Gaia TV or something. Um, okay, so yeah, this is such a complex title. Let's just have a look at it again. Why is it so rare for the illusion to completely collapse? The reason it's a complex title is because we first have to like identify what exactly we're talking about by all these different words. Um, so what does it mean, the illusion to completely collapse? I mean, I just wouldn't normally speak like that, but yeah, we try and go for it. This is what the title is. So, yeah. So, first of all, I just describe some awakenings, just so we can discern what exactly it means by the illusion completely collapsing. So, yeah, when you're on this path, you have different forms of awakening. And I suspect that everybody's awakening is different. And sometimes the awakening is gradual, even though it's always only instant, it seems gradual. Like, so sometimes the illusion of you can just dissolve more and more and more. So it becomes like day by day, reality becomes more and more real. Um, uh, but yeah, there can be all types of different awakenings that happen. And and in a way, there is a final and there isn't a final, because there isn't a final place, as in like this final illusion, this final collapse like we imagine it. So there isn't this like final collapse, because that would be an imagination. And that would be something that you have and that you have. So this idea of like final collapse is a funny thing, just like the idea of awakening is a funny thing, because it's like an imagination that you have of yourself. And in the process, there can be these awakenings which you can see. And the way in which you can see them is that they're collapsing of your story, a collapsing of your identity. So more and more is falling away of yourself and as what you think you are. And in that process, you can kind of see that happening, because there was a before and an after. There was a shift, there was a change that happened in your character. So when you awaken to love, say, there can be a feeling of a before not being awoken to love, and then an awakening to love. And you can feel that in the character. You can feel this love. And so you can see that. So that's an awakening. An awakening, that's not it. That's an awakening along the path, and you can see it and you can tell the story of it. That doesn't mean that needs to be chucked out. You need to not attach to it, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be thrown away. It's just not the final awakening, because it's a story, it's something that you can see. So when there is awakening to nothing, there is a before and after. So again, you can see that's a story that you're telling yourself. But in those experiences, there are genuine collapses where there is no story, where there is no you, where there is no I. And that's when the story begins to completely collapse, where the illusion begins to completely collapse, is when it's with no story anymore. And it's just the way it is. It's just the way things are. And it's not so much that you know it, even though there could be a story that comes about saying that you know something. In the moment, it's not that you know it, it's that you are it. There is this awakeness, which is totally free. Yeah, that's really hard to describe, and it sounds very higgledy-piggledy. Yeah. So the reason that it's really hard for the illusion to completely collapse is because of the addiction to stories. So just to get why it's so rare for the illusion to completely collapse, it's because of the addictions to stories. So even awakening becomes a story about you, and an idea about you. Whereas who or what has awoken? Who or what has awoken now? This is so deeply relaxing. This isn't about some experience. This isn't about something that you get to. Isn't about something that you own or have. It's just here, very simple. This awake presence. And why is it that it's really hard to let go of all stories? And that, I would say, is fear. So Roger, my teacher, taught me that at the base of the ego there's two movements, the movement towards love and the movement away from fear. So it's the movement towards pleasure and the movement away from fear or death. And these are the natural movements of the mammal. The mammal naturally moves towards more pleasure and less pain. But when it's identified, the person believes that freedom and safety is found in pleasure, and pain and pain is like lack of safety. Pain is something really bad is going to happen to you. You're going to die. So the person is always trying to get to love and avoid pain. So get to pleasure and avoid pain. And in the end, you could say they're both movements of fear, because the movement towards love is trying to get away from fear. So it's both motivated by fear, but they're movements in different ways. Yeah. So the movement towards pleasure can sometimes feel a lot nicer than the running away from fear. But in the end, it's fear that keeps the stories keep carrying on. So fear is a natural thing of the body, and I'm not saying that the body should stop feeling fear. Like if, somebody is running towards you with a machine gun, it's not that you shouldn't feel fear. Like fear is what arises and then the body moves on. And it doesn't mean that it's the fixing of the nervous system. So we have these nervous systems, and if your nervous system has got hyper aroused by certain thoughts or certain ideas, it doesn't necessarily mean the fixing of that. So if you hear a loud bang or something, and in the past you've been scared by fireworks or something, it doesn't mean that your body doesn't get like a shock when that happens. So it's not talking about that as such. It's talking about something slightly deeper than that. And with the fear, like on the bodily level, like I'm not saying that you shouldn't do body work to relieve the fear. This isn't what this conversation's about. In fact, I'm really pro that. But it's actually something deeper than that. It's this energy which is below that. So that is something that's playing in the world. The fear in the body is playing in the world. And then below that, there is this like empty looking, there is this emptiness, this empty fullness. And in between the body and that emptiness, there is this attachment where it kind of like makes that emptiness attached to everything. And you can't distinguish it. It's kind of like everything becomes real and everything becomes solid when that happens, and you forget your own nature. You just are totally lost in the dream. And that attachment, so it's that attachment that creates the problem. And it's the lack of resting in self which makes the fear feel really real. And it makes the feeling that love is my safety, is the only safety, love in time, love in humans, love in scenarios, love in situations, and fear is my enemy. And it makes that game feel really real. Rather than this movement behind that, it's also kind of in front of that. So it's like, it's like you can't quite determine behind that. There is this emptiness, this freedom, and it's a resting in that rather than that kind of being attached, this energy of attaching to all of that. So you're resting in self, and then the body is doing its thing, but it's no longer seen as your savior, as what's important. So that is what I define as seeking, like this energy that kind of sticks this whole entity together and makes it feel like you are really real and you're really alive, rather than this resting in what you are that is beyond that. And the reason that there isn't a resting in that is because of fear. Because the seeker's main component, like I was just saying, is fear. So it's not fear in the body as such, but it's this existential fear that's kind of added onto that when you believe you are the body. So that seeking energy, that identified energy, believes that it is the body and believes if the body dies, then I'm going to die. And when that begins to be separated out and you begin to move more and more into the no-selfness of what you are, into the expandedness, the non-limitation of what you are, then immense fear arises. Because to not be a thing is really scary. to not be a thing. Because then what are you? Then who are you? So fear is what holds it back. So the solution to that, even though notice that everything I say, even the idea of solution, is again imagining that's in the dream, but the solution to that is to, not to buy into that fear. So it's allowing the fear to be there, but not to buy into it, not to agree with it. So the body has fear, that's a very natural and normal phenomena, but there's no belief in that. So you rest as just the watching in a way. It's even deeper than the watching, goes back into infinity, not even the watching. And I'm not suggesting on the human level, if your body has lots of fear and lots of panic, that you don't do body work to help digest that. Like, always do body work to calm things down. It's not like you have to sit there and be having full-blown panic attacks. Like, there's so many things that you can do to help that, to calm that, to make it better, to make it more bearable. And then when it's a reasonable level, there's just the witnessing of it, no involvement in it. Like, the fear has often got to such extremity because it's been believed in for so many years. Yeah. Yes, this is really the way of the warrior, really being able to allow fear to arise and not believe that it's the end of you in any way, or that it means anything. And that, could be in the dream as well. So not just fear when you're sitting in your bedroom, but also be in your dream if you're having fear outside. Yes, it's really not having fear. Like, I don't like to talk too much about myself, but I'll just talk a little bit about myself and fear. Um, yeah, just so it kind of relaxes something in you, so you're not getting like too much into perfectionism. So I'll tell you about a scary situation I had recently. So about like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was traveling by myself, and I was staying in this hotel. And you know how sometimes in the hotels they have like doorbells on the hotel doors, like, yeah, there's like little doorbells, and then they have like switches inside, like, so that the switches inside could show, whether your room was occupied or whether you wanted the maid to come in and all this type of thing. And it was like I wasn't sleeping too well because I drunk coffee during the day. I do drink coffee, but I try my best not to drink coffee, but I do drink it when I need it, especially if I've been driving. And um, and also all the driving, I'd done like 10 hours driving that day. So I just couldn't get to sleep. It was about 2:30 in the morning, and I was laying there, and my doorbell rang. And this is like 2:30 in the morning. And and at first I was like, I was thinking I was on the boat, because when you're on the boat, it's like a similar sound to the doorbell. I was thinking, oh, the boat's going to make an announcement in these night ferries that I get. And then I was like, no, that was my doorbell. And I was like, who's ringing my doorbell at 2:30 a.m.? And so then I go to the front door and I look out of the little peephole, and in the peephole there was like this black kind of blob thing in the side of the peephole, like this, I don't know what it was. And I didn't like to open my door because I was like, yeah, I'm a single woman by myself, and I'm in a hotel in a foreign country. Well, it's a country where I can't speak the language. And so, yeah, I decided to ring down reception and explain what had happened. And they said they'd send security up, but security didn't come. And so after like half an hour, the blob was still there. I just was like, well, whatever's happening, I've got 10 hours, I've got to drive tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to leave the room and there's something outside my room and I don't know what or who it is. And I've only got my room, so I have to accept this situation. Like, I've phoned down to reception, they're not going to do anything. They just think I'm a paranoid woman or something. And so I have to accept the situation. The hotel actually did write to me and apologize after this, because I told them the next morning what happened. And so I just got into bed, and the body was scared. Like, the body, yeah, was uncomfortable. And I just was like, okay, I just got to completely accept this situation, because no matter what happens, I got to do 10 hours driving tomorrow, and there's no way out of that, and I need to sleep. And so, yeah, there was just like, I just went into this meditative state and really accept the fear, and then very quickly fell asleep. Yeah, because there was total acceptance of the fear. There was acceptance of the fear when I was moving around and stuff, but this was like a deeper, like, acceptance, so I could fall asleep. Yeah. And maybe for men you can't relate to that, but maybe all the women out there can relate to that. If any of that's like, I'm totally by myself in this foreign country, and then there's some blob outside my room, and then the next morning, like, I considered the next morning I discovered there wasn't a doorbell, but some doorbell had come across over the intercom, and they were doing building work, so there was something like that. And then the blob in the corner, when I looked out the peephole, this sort of figure thing, was just a mark on the peephole. And I kind of considered that the night before, when I was like, there's all these reasons it could be. Like, you don't need to jump to the worst possibility. So yeah, so it's not like, we're not talking about perfection of the body, like that the body doesn't experience fear, but it's this internal acceptance of it, like total to surrender to it. Like, in that situation, there was nothing I could do. I wasn't going to open that door at 2:30 or 3:30 to 3 in the morning, and I'd done my best. I tried to phone someone to ask them about it. So there's nothing else I could do. It was just surrender to that. And it's like that in every situation. So if you're out and about and there's somebody that's aggressive to you or something and you can't move from the situation, it's not about not having fear. Like, to not have feelings is a bad thing. It's not, that's disassociation. But it's this not believing that it's you. That is the difference. And it's not an energy of belief. It's not a thought of belief. It's this resting in yourself. So your true self is totally at peace. But in the screen, in the display, there is agitation going on, or there is joy going on. But this also equally doesn't mean that the personality doesn't change. So I'm not saying that after awakening, the personality doesn't radically change. What changes is all the psychological suffering that comes with it, like all this big psychological suffering. So you're not getting lost in all these stories around it. You know, so you're not lost in the blame, the guilt, the shame, the pride, the expectation. Like there's just radical resting in self. So the feelings come up, but very little stories are coming up. And sometimes here old stories can come up, and I call that old seeking patterns when they come up, and I feel like it's energy coming out of the body. But what I've noticed over the 15 years is that gets less and less and less. It feels like the body gets more and more in line with this, and just dissolves quicker and quicker. Yeah. Don't know if that all makes sense. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, you are welcome to ask it. You can raise your hand, or you can write the question in the chat. Yeah, and what I do is I go one hand up question and then one written question. Yes, Rachel, you can unmute yourself. Oh, sorry, you can't unmute yourself. I've got you muted. 1 second. There you go. Now you can unmute yourself.
Oh, hello.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Yeah, it's interesting that you spoke about you were able to go to sleep when your body was experiencing that fear. Because I was just thinking I would like to ask you about when I go to bed. I seem to feel very unsettled. Like I feel like I'm very in flow all day. And then when I go to bed, there's something unsettling arises. And I'm thinking, from what you said this evening, maybe it's coming from fear of some kind. But I never just lay in bed and go, like never.
What do you never? How do you fall asleep? You fall asleep with that, or do
I
you
will
listen
have
to something?
Sometimes it's you actually.
Yeah.
So I'll just put your videos on in the background, and then I'll lay down in the darkness and kind of go to sleep listening to you.
Yeah.
And I find that's okay, but I don't feel comfortable to just lay in silence and nothing at night and go to
Yeah.
sleep that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like the energy. I think there is a normal element to it. Like, so what I notice is when it gets darker outside, the body is more sensitive to fear. Like this is personally what happens here. So it's like I'll be more prone to fright when it's darker than as opposed to in the morning. And what I used to notice with Khaleesi when I had a dog, when we used to go walking, sometimes we used to go like really far out in nature where there was really remote, and I used to find that I was able to do that a lot easier during the morning or early afternoon rather than at dusk. At
Yeah,
dusk,
me
I would be
too.
more flighty and jumpy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there is like a natural element that our bodies have for thousands and thousands of years known that it begins to get more risky as we get darker. And so it's like to huddle together, to be in a safe environment. So the body,
Mm,
I feel like, is more alert at
mm.
nighttime. And then,
Okay.
and then it is interesting what we do with that. Like, so when the
Mm,
body is more alert, like, then do we go into negative behaviors which either encourage it or, um, or ignore it or push it away? Like, in the end, it's like absolute acceptance of it. There's body
mm,
work that you can do to help settle the system down if it gets really hyper aroused, but it is really acceptance of it. So you
mm,
can play with it. Like, it's really interesting to play with it in the evening to see these different things. Obviously, if you've got to get up in the next day, then don't play with it. But if you've got time to explore that and explore what you do in the evenings, like as it begins to get dark, like
mm,
what your
mm.
habits are. Like normally they say also like addiction arises. It tends to be in the evening time as well because you're more tired and then because I think there is more of a tendency towards fear. So more
Mm.
people will drink or overeat or
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes I do turn to sugar
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I'll get like a sweet or two or something.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. It's not just me then.
No, I think it's a really normal human thing, but
Mm,
I think it's like exploring it. You know,
yeah.
it's such a great time in the silence of night, like you get into bed and to just lay with that energy. Not where you begin to get into like paranoia or you begin to get into
Mm,
trauma or something, but to begin to explore that energy and sit with it and see what happens like when you sit with it, when you lay with it.
mm,
Like what your mind does, what your body does.
mm,
Like, yeah, what energies arise.
mm. Okay, yeah, I think I'm open to trying that, to just kind of sitting with that, kind of just laying there and allowing
Yeah,
myself to be feeling that way.
yeah.
Um,
And you could even try going to bed a bit earlier to do that, like, and
yeah.
then if it doesn't work, obviously you most really have to get up at a certain time, like, then you can begin to switch something on to help you go to
Mm.
sleep.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think as well because I'm a single mum and I home educate my son as well. So I'm always like with him. And we've just and children just bring you into the present all the time anyway. We just
Yeah,
flow through the day and it's great. And then as soon as he goes to sleep, I'm like, I I think it's partly that as well. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, and you can
Mm.
just notice those moments, those like when he begins to go to sleep, and then when you come and sit downstairs, and you've got
Yeah,
this like open time and then the silence of the house
yeah,
of what happens.
yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, I when I had my son, he's 10 now. Then I started a lot of seeking and a lot of like trauma stuff like came out, and I thought, oh dear, like I need to be a mum. I can't like have all this darkness when I'm trying to be a mum. So then I went like on the seeking path of like spiritual seeking of trying to get rid of all this darkness and trauma.
Yeah,
And that went on for so many years. And I guess it was maybe necessary at that time to shift some things,
yeah,
but yeah, I'm totally, it just doesn't resonate anymore to kind
yeah,
of just, yeah, to do that.
yeah. So what more resonates for you? Like listening to non-duality and meditating, and yeah,
Yeah.
it might have just been a period that your body had to go through before it could really begin to flow into that. Often that's the
Mm,
case. And then
mm,
there's a time where it's like let go of.
mm.
And sometimes
Yeah.
it can come back, but in a different way. Like energies can come. There can be periods of it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very in and out of this. So sometimes I'm Rachel and sometimes I'm this.
Yeah,
but I'm not always this.
Yeah.
Mm. I'd like to just be this.
Yeah, it's so simple, this. It's so uncomplicated.
I know. I know. And then sometimes I will be this for such a long period of the day, and then suddenly Rachel pops up again, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like waking up from a dream almost. It's a strange feeling, kind of disorientating.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thanks, Rachel. Really lovely to connect with you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay, so now go to a written question. So this is from Lindsay Jar. At bedtime, when it's time to go to sleep, that's when my thoughts race so much, anxious thoughts. The blob, Peter says, the blob in the peephole is like the old rope that looks like a snake story. This hotel was so creepy as well. It was like, I just can't. It was like, and then I look out and I'm like, no way. And there's this black blob there. I'm like, yeah, it was quite, yeah, a story. The recommendation for this situation, though, was I think get as near as possible and check out. This also solves the fear issue. I don't know what exactly you mean by that, Pete. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Like so some people feel safer in the dark. Basically, I suspect what happens is that, you've heard of circadian rhythms, so it's like the body and the hormones change dependent on the time of day, and people have different circadian rhythms, and there's also like like um like different organs are working as you begin to get nearer to sleep, so the body is going to experience different things, and it's going to be different for everyone. I would suggest that most people will be more prone to more fear or more arousal at nighttime. Yeah. But it's such a great time to explore. Like Eckhart Tolle, he says often that, the best time to meditate is the time when you wake up in the morning and the time when you're going to sleep at night. And I totally agree. But I too also sometimes can't sleep and put on an audiobook to, or read, to get the mind to, or get the body to get into sleep. Like it's not, yeah, I'm not saying, yeah, that here I'm always like, just put the head on the pillow. And, but it's such an interesting time to explore what's happening. And if you can stay with the fear in the evening time, then for most people, I would suggest that's the highest time of fear. And so then it'll be much easier for you during the day to stay with it. So Pete says, I heard from Valamat Taka, and it made so much more sense for me. If you know what it really is, there is no more place for fear. So the recommendation for this situation, though, I think, get as near as possible and check out. This also solves the fear issue. Oh yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. Like, get as close as possible to the fear and check it out, or what you're afraid of. Yeah. Fear is, in the end, an illusion. It's a sensation arising in the body. It's not true in any way. Or like open the door anyway. I know if I'd opened the door when I was in the hotel room, then yeah, that would have solved the problem. But I can assure you, Pete, as a woman, you will be trained not to open that door. I don't know if other women can relate to that, but yeah, you don't open the door. But yeah, if I'd opened the door, that would have been totally solved, because I didn't even have a freaking doorbell anyway. There was a problem with the intercom, and the intercom went ding dong at 2:30 in the morning. So yeah, it was all just the rope. Thinking there was a rope when a snake when there wasn't a snake. Yeah. Okay. Tristano. You can unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hey.
You speak on experiencing feelings as emptiness as opposed to something like solid or something that has to be dealt with.
So it's so interesting what happens. You got emotions and you got thoughts arising, and then your kind of like attention goes to them. And normally what happens is the attention is mostly on the thoughts than on the feelings. Um, yeah, it depends. But often people are mostly focused on what they're thinking. So this person is bad, or that person is bad, or this situation is bad. And the attention is sort of glued to that. But then also it can be the other way, that you can have like all types of feelings arise in the body, and then the attention can be glued to that as well. And what needs to happen is there needs to be an ungluing of that, so that it's not stuck. The attention isn't totally glued to the thoughts and the feelings, and that is done through the end of seeking, through the collapsing of seeking. And the end of seeking is the end of identification with the thoughts or feelings, so the end of a belief that that is who you are. And then there is a resting in self, a deep resting in self, and then the thoughts and feelings come, and then you're resting as emptiness. And the two main components of seeking is the seeking for love and the trying to avoid fear. And those are the two main components. So while there is still the desire there for love or to avoid fear, then there will still be a gluing and attachment to the body. So there has to be a non-acting of that and then resting in self. And all of that sounds like a prescription that I'm giving you, but it's a description of something that happens. And that happening is an undoing that happens apparently through time, where the you, your emotions, your feelings, your ideas, begin to collapse more and more and more. And the seeking energies of what you believe to be freedom in time.
Sometimes it feels like I'm remaining as myself, and the feelings kind of like barge in very abruptly.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's habits and conditions. You know, it's sort of like they say is passed on from life after life is these habits and these conditions and these tendencies. So if you imagine like if you imagine like a previous life, like in a previous life, if you've had like a very strong tendency to, for example, like be angry and you never address that, then through the life that anger gets stronger and stronger. You can imagine it like a spinning top. You know, like you like the anger gets stronger and it builds and builds through the life, and then it gets passed on to the next life. And that's why it feels like you just get inundated with them, because they're tendencies that have gone through time, but they're not your tendencies. They're tendencies of the human race. There isn't actually a you. There's tendencies that arise, and so your job is like standing up in a like fast moving river. Like, so these tendencies come in, and it's to remain still. And sometimes with these tendencies, there needs to be body work that's done, like breath work or body work, to help settle these tendencies because they're so strong. Breathing work, understanding them intellectually, so some form of analysis.
Can it be that sometimes if someone else is like focused on you, even if they're not with you like mentally, they're focused on you, that they're like projecting feelings onto you or something like that?
Yeah, but why are you getting involved in them? Like, some people are psychic, I wouldn't deny that, but why do you get involved in them? So that
So
too
you
is
kind
the
of,
same as yourself. It's like you've got to not get involved in it. You've got to stay still. So it could be that somebody's sitting there, and this is why I feel like, people that are really famous often end up in drinks and alcohol and stuff, because they've got so many people thinking about them. And I do feel that a lot of us are telepathic. So I do feel like that does happen, but it's like your job is to stay still. Because what is the difference between their thoughts and your thoughts in the end? Imagine how many people I have thinking bad things about me and good things about me as well. But like putting yourself online, talking about this subject, people, and being a woman as well, it creates outrage sometimes. People are horrified. And then also, I then have to confront their ego, which is like terrifying as well. It brings up hate and rage. But then also I have the opposite as well. People thinking really beautiful things about me, but all aren't true.
yeah, I guess the same thing would work with love. Like if you're sending love to someone or thinking about them lovingly, then it kind of expands instead of contract.
Mm. The key to it is like paying attention, so you notice it happening and then change something in order to remain still, whether that be get up and shake or.
Sounds so contradictory, like change something in order to stay still, but yeah, it's kind of the only thing that actually makes sense. And your satsang has like this pacifying effect, like silent pacification. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have put that into words.
Because a man there do the opposite. Really joking.
Yeah, jinxed it. Almost like as if when you say something good, there's someone out there that's gonna like trigger the opposite for some reason. Do you ever get like when you feel like the feeling's like almost completely emptying, it's like a whole body kind of numbness that comes in, almost like a tingling numbness. I have that in like my hands and right now. I don't even feel like I'm here.
I don't know what that means, so I wouldn't be able to comment on it. It's very hard when you come and speak about experiences.
It's almost like the numbness is like preventing me from like fully letting go of myself. Almost like it's like, oh, I shouldn't go there because it's gonna feel like numb. I feel like I inherited that or something. I don't even want it. Feels like on my out breath, I'm trying to calm myself down, but I shouldn't be. Just like open on the out breath.
Yeah, thanks, Tristan. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we go to another written question. Thank you, Lisa. I'm at work, so I don't have a camera on or microphone. I don't believe I can force or bring about my own enlightenment, but rather it has to choose me. How many people went into awakening with trepidation and fear, yet were still pulled in? The best I can do is practice to lower my own suffering. Yeah, thanks, Larry. Yeah, I think that that's really true. Like you practice to lower your own suffering, I would say, like stabilizing the body mind mechanism, and then keep representing yourself to non-duality the whole time, like really recognizing that there is nobody doing anything. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for your comment. Yeah, and Giacomo, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Giacomo.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I like the topic today. It's really fitting for me and mm, especially, I don't know, like lately I have strong guilt experiences that are a little bit, well, they're absolutely irrational, but very strong. And maybe it's also because I was doing a bit more of therapeutic things, and so yeah, I I can just resonate with what is being said today, and also that fear. And I remember this one time when I was walking in the woods, and suddenly I felt like I was followed by wolves or something. It was so, wow, it was such an experience. My whole body, every cell was like activated. And I was like, damn, what can I do? And I mean, I'm not in Siberia, I'm just here in some German woods. And I remember this was so intense. And yeah, so yeah, I find it, yeah, I just wanted to share that and yeah.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
such a powerful thing, fear, isn't it? Like it's really it's such a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
I mean, guilt is a very interesting thing, and like underneath the guilt, it most probably comes to fear as well. Like when you really go into the guilt.
Mm.
So say, I'll just take an example, like with guilt. So say I don't know, something like I lied or cheated I lied to somebody or something, and
Mm-hmm.
like in the end, the fear is that you're bad in some way or you did something wrong in some way. There's higher up ones of that. There's like you can go in steps. Like there is above that, like, oh, it's not nice, compassion, empathy. But when you come down to it, it's like the fear of being bad or doing bad, and that's really not true. And the reason that we have this fear of being bad or doing bad, is because we're taught this idea of good and bad, and that belongs to us, whereas really everything is God. Everything is a movement of God. So there's nobody that could really do bad. And we fear that if we are bad, then we will be kicked out, we won't survive, we will be rejected. Like if people really saw our badness, but there is nobody really with badness, no matter what any of us have done. And no, I love that saying by Jesus, it's like they wanted to stone to death Mary Magdalene for being a prostitute. And Jesus says, okay, but only those who have not sinned can throw a stone. And then it's like, no one can throw a stone, none of us. And sometimes like we do this, like this shaming and this like really guilting and publicly shaming people, and it's almost like an externalization of our own fear. It's like, well, if they're guilty, they're bad, then I'm not guilty and I'm not bad. So it's like then we're projecting our own fear onto other people, and it's really not true. There really isn't somebody that is bad. Like all of it's a movement of God, every action that we ever did. Like, can we ever find the beginning of it? And we have to trust in God for those movements. And the apparent bad actions, which aren't really bad actions, are what create expansion. It's only through that we recognize the illusion. If everything was good and pleasurable, you wouldn't recognize the illusion. It's through being really humbled. But we're so obsessed with this good and bad and this guilt in our society, and it comes down to fear underneath it. And it's just not true.
It's like this kind of collective survival mechanism, or and yeah, I totally understand that. Yes. Um, yeah, it's really amazing, and sometimes it feels also when you talked about like addiction for in the evening, and like it's the same. Sometimes it feels a little bit like an energy, and the uh, I don't know, the separate self is trying to find something, to hold on to, and then it creates always these experiences like so for example, that guilt, I mean, it's even I mean, it used to be for me more that I was feeling guilty a longer time ago, but lately it's like I do something and then it's even I feel guilty that I haven't done it differently. Like I imagine something and it's so created, it's so artificial, it's really
Yeah,
has no substance, and it's so
yeah,
clear, and still it's catching me, or it's trying to catch me, and it's like this, yeah, it's really like that. It's like
yeah,
like it's trying to feed itself in a way or something. I don't know how to say that, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, totally.
Mm.
Because when we like it's really interesting the way it happens. Like, so we have these thoughts, and then when we externalize it, we put it onto what we think is a real situation of something that you've done, which is bad. It
Mm.
kind of, it validates it. And really, then it stops us addressing the initial issue, which is the dissolving into no self, having no boundaries. Like that's what the real issue is underneath.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just the perfect timing for that. That was the topic today for me to address that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Giacomo. Yeah, just see if there's any more written questions. I think I saw some in the Telegram chat. Yeah. JT, do you have experience or knowledge? Some kind of shift has happened, maybe temporary or permanent. Earlier, like there were background awakenness, moments of no self and non-duality, but it seems all those are destroyed and gone now. Now physical body and physical world around feels again real, and in this new space it is all about how much electric, fiery energy body can accommodate. There are moments when energy is active, center of energy seems to chest, not like love. And then there are moments of rest and digestion. Yeah, it's really hard, JT, for me to understand, yeah, what you mean by that. So it's hard for me to comment on it. Yeah, if you want to talk, maybe we could go into it in more detail, but that's hard. Okay. Bettina, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi, Bettina.
Yeah, I found it an interesting. Yeah, just I was inspired by this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm now again nervous and funny. Yeah, like for me, it's like I'm not so much in the evening that I can't go to sleep. I do have that, but it's almost that I feel like there's something present in the evening, but in the night when I fall asleep, and there's no fear, but if I fall asleep in the night, I sometimes wake up, then like there's like almost like shadows coming or dreams or stuff that comes at night and meets me. And then in the morning when I wake up, it stays with me and it's almost like a cloud or something that I can't look through. And I have that often, especially in winter when it's dark. So it's also with the darkness that it comes, and it is like a cloud of fear, but it's almost, I can't grasp it, or it doesn't have a reason, or and sometimes and interestingly enough, it's always if I sleep, like if I at home, it comes also in this place, and it depends for me also almost seems to change in the places where I sleep. Like if I'm, for example, at my mum's place or at other places, it's not there, but it comes here.
Yeah, interesting.
That and it feels almost it's connected to certain places where I don't know if something's picked up, but it's interesting for me that then it's not a settling at peace, which I feel.
Mhm.
And that's, I don't know what my question is with that, but it's just like I've been wondering about that because it feels like it's me, but it in some ways also because it changes. It depends where I am and with who I
Yeah.
have been. It's not there. It suddenly comes, and in other circumstances, it's not all there at all.
Yeah. I think there's so
So,
many different reasons as to why things appear, and it's like so hard to pick apart. But what you can do is experiment. So if you look up Chinese medicine, they have like at night, they have like different organs that work at different times. And so if there's a certain time that you wake up, you can look to see the organs that are in play. I know that sounds weird, but organs have different emotions to them, and certain organs have like different like energies that could arise. And then you can also maybe relate it to the food that you eat, or the conversations, or the what you do prior to going to bed. And then also another thing that you could try is one day when you feel like it, is rather than going back to sleep, is doing something. So Anka just recommended like a breath work in the chat, like for falling asleep. But you could do like a breath work or a chanting session just to see what happens to the energy then. Because there's this other really interesting thing that happens with fear, is that fear is very close to love. So often another reason why with sleep and falling asleep and nighttime I feel like is like good for meditation is because that fear that you're experiencing at night, it's like it's right next to the love and the dissolving of you. So it's like where, like, I'm not saying that you might not have dreams or energies that are appearing, but it could be another thing is that you begin to touch on dissolving into no self, and then the fear kicks in. So
that's how
then,
it
like,
feels.
yeah, then like exploring that fear a little bit could be very interesting. Like, so doing some form of body work to see if there can be a relaxation and what else arises. Because sometimes, like, what I notice is that the with people is that there can be like this spaciousness, but they don't realize there's this spaciousness because they're focused on a sensation of fear. And they don't realize that there's simultaneously also this immense spaciousness arising, and that's why the fear's arising. It could be many other things. It's just something that you could try exploring. And then if you can kind of like settle that fear a little, you might realize that there's actually a real spaciousness there. And the fear's coming in because it can't cope with that. Like it's got to be something. So it comes in very quickly.
It feels a bit like that, and it's funny because it's like I can't grasp it. Like if I, if I get up, it's sometimes something's precious about that, and I don't know. It's like you say, it might be close to that, and there's something precious, but it seems as soon as I get up, it just goes. But also the special space that is there, or this openness, it's also as soon as I move or get up or do something else, I'm this like something's lost.
Yeah.
And then I almost stay in bed to keep it, but it's like I yeah, I haven't yeah, I just don't know how to it's yeah. So I don't know yet, but maybe this is it's interesting. I might actually explore it a bit more with this yeah, the spaciousness behind it to just see if that's that, to kind of put my attention on that also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, thank you, Bettina. Okay, I think that is enough for today. Yeah, so if you are in YouTube, you can oh no, sorry, if you're in Zoom, then you can stay and just to greet everybody that's in Zoom. You don't have to stay, you can also leave. But if you're in YouTube, I'm going to end it now. And if you want to join these Zoom meetings, then you can do that by going to my website and finding out how to do that there. Yeah, and also just to let people know, like, from I think the 25th of January, I'm going to India for 3 months. So these the YouTubes will be different timing because this time in India is way too late for me to do a talk. Yeah, so you have to stay tuned to my YouTube channel to know when I'm doing the live streams. Yeah, or join the Telegram group and I will tell you. But yeah, thank you to everybody in YouTube. Yeah, sending you lots of love, and I shall see you next week. I think next week I'll stream on Saturday and not Sunday. But yeah, I'll put a card out and let everybody know in Telegram.